Good morning. My name is Jennifer Ryan, and on behalf of the Alliance of Women in Workers' Compensation, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Today is titled Exploring Executive Presence with Industry Leaders, will last approximately 30 minutes and is a pre-recorded webinar being broadcasted today, Thursday, January 27, 2022. Before we get started, I would like to thank our 2022 corporate sponsors for their support on hosting events such as this. They support us not because they want their logos up on a screen, but they support the cause, which is to affect positive change in the workers' compensation industry through networking, support, mentoring, and collaboration. The Alliance is inclusive of all professionals in workers' compensation, regardless of career stage, with the belief that we can all learn from and support each other. Please be sure to head to the AWWC website for all upcoming virtual events. We are excited to be hosting webinars and collaboration sessions throughout 2022. The Alliance will also be hosting 4 main in-person events. Be sure to check out our website for registration details. If you cannot make one of our live, virtual, or in-person events, don't worry. Webinars and our 4 main events will be recorded and on demand for our followers. Our theme this year is Acknowledge, Adjust, Advance. We will be diving into more details around why we picked this theme and what's in store for 2022. I'm also excited to share with you today that the Alliance will be hosting a book club throughout the year. Love reading books? We will be releasing more information on this in the coming weeks. Today, we are hosting this pre-recorded session from our 2021 RISE event as we continue the discussions around executive presence. The topic of executive presence is controversial. Why? Because it defies what we believe in terms of how our career success should occur and how performance should be rewarded. Research shows us surprisingly perspectives from CEOs, business leaders, and executive coaches. It's not how hard you perform and definitely not how much you work that cultivates executive presence. It's when you tap into the power of who you are at the core, your values, and you operate from that place. That is when you start tapping into influence and people notice it. People base your level of influence upon them on a few key factors, including how you make them feel. This session is designed to show emotional intelligence in action. Our panelists will provide lessons learned and explain how their emotional intelligence has transformed throughout their career. You will hear examples of when emotional intelligence hindered and supported career growth. This session provides suggestions for you to consider as you develop awareness around emotional intelligence and hone in on your skills. Although this is a pre-recorded session, please feel free to comment and ask questions throughout the Zoom chat feature seen on your screen. We love seeing our followers engaged throughout our sessions. Thank you for the time you're spending with us today, and we hope you enjoy this webinar.
Welcome, ladies, to the panel. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
All right. All right, ladies. So first of all, welcome to the panel. And I'm just honored to meet you, and I've enjoyed speaking with you. And I found out some very interesting things about you that I want you to share with the group. So you notice that when I was speaking, I was talking about you're more than your job title. So knowing what I said about that, what would you say is your real title plus your word of importance? Can you start?
Sure, my name is Jessica McKenna. I am a problem solver and a relationship builder. I do that both at work and at home. At work, it might be customer problems, it might be employees that have an issue, or something within our organization that we just don't know how to do. And we really find the solution by building relationships, bringing the right people together, and getting the right solution in place. At home, the problems are, how do I get 2 kids to 2 different places at the exact same time? Or how do you deal with tween friendship problems? If anyone has any advice on that. Again, it's building relationships and really trusting the people around me, surrounding myself with people, and really working on that network. My word of importance is trust. I want people to trust that I have their best interest at heart, that I'm going to work hard, and that I am going to do what I say I'm going to do. And in return, I want to trust that they're going to do those things as well.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
So my name is Dionne, Lacey-Artis, and so my words are, I'm in a different life cycle than Jessica. I have 20-year-olds at this point. So I consider myself to be a pragmatic protector. I give it to my kids straight, no chasers, what I say to them all the time. And I don't know if they appreciate that all the time. Sometimes they call me the dream squasher. It just depends on where we happen to be at that time of day. But I am also very protective of the folks that I have a lot of trust and have confidence in me, and I want to make sure that I take care of those people. That's at work as well as at home. I think people who have worked with me or worked on teams with me would say that's probably true. As I think about what my word is, I think it's accountability. As we talk more today, you'll probably learn why that's so important to me and because of my background.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rashmi, Nijahal, and my title, I really had to think about this, and I might have texted my best friend too to help me out. Keeper of the safe space to tell our truth. And where that really came from is when I realized that I knew I was pregnant, but I realized that I was going to have 2 boys, because I was done after 2. I thought to myself, what am I going to do with boys? I have no idea. I had all these thoughts about raising a girl and being a woman in this world, and so I really threw myself into learning about the emotional lives of boys. And I think as I really focused on that, one of the things that's really important to me is that they are allowed to be vulnerable. They're allowed to share their emotions. I grew up in an Indian family, and they were wonderful, but shame is a really big part of our culture, and I do not want to raise my children with shame. So I try and hold that safe space for them, and I do that with my teams as well. They may be a little bit more reluctant to share their emotions or how they're feeling about something with me, but I try and preface it with, I'm a safe person to talk to. And then my word is willingness. And that's really about being open to change, whether it's change that I choose or change that I haven't chosen, but being willing to take that all in.
Yeah, I love everything that you ladies are saying. And if you think about what we've gone through over the last couple of years with the pandemic, and just so much turmoil, it has forced us to face our vulnerabilities. And I love the fact that it's, for you all, it's just becoming a part of who you are now. I mean, you're actually evolving. All of us are shifting and changing because of the pandemic. And what I see from people is that they are becoming a lot more vulnerable and more willing to come back to their authentic roots. Yeah. All right, so our next question is about courage. And I like to say that executive presence is activated by a small act of courage. What small act of courage have you activated in your career or life? Would you like to go first?
Sure. For me, it was really leaving an organization that I was extremely comfortable with and moving to a new organization. I started my career at a large workers' compensation carrier shortly after college, moved through a variety of roles, and found one that I loved. And I was good at it, and it got to be easy. And while I had the desire to do more things and go into a leadership position, based on my location, it was made abundantly clear that that was not going to be a possibility unless I relocated. And so I got comfortable. And I thought, this is just what I'm going to do. It's going to be easy. And while I still wanted to learn and grow, I was too scared to look anywhere else. And I was happy, so why should I look? Luckily, my network came to the rescue, and I had a former boss who had moved positions and had asked me to come on board and be one of her leaders. And I was scared, And without her, I don't know if I would have done it at the time. But I am so thankful that I did. In the 3 years that I've been with CNA, my career has grown by leaps and bounds. I feel fulfilled. I am learning new things every day. I'm doing things that I didn't think I could do. I'm a little bit stressed, but it's all good, and I've really, really appreciated it. And so if I could encourage anybody or look back, make that leap. It's scary, but I really wish I would have done it without needing somebody to pull me along.
Yeah, good. Thank you for sharing that. Dionne.
I think for me, courage is really about, getting out of your comfort zone, right? And so, for me, in my past life, I've moved from group health to workers' comp. And so that, for me, was a little bit different because I've worked probably for the first 10 years of my career on that side of the world. But one of the things that I tried to do as I was moving into that new direction is, similarly to you, Jess, just reaching out to people who were a part of my network or people that I thought were a part of my tribe, so to speak, who could really instill in me that confidence to be able to do that. I come from a family where I was always taught that there was nothing I could not do, and there was supreme confidence in that, but you don't always feel that way deep down inside, particularly as you're trying to track to something that's really, really new for you. So what I would say, ultimately, as I was making that move, and people in this room will understand this, I was moving from group health to workers' comp, and so the first thing I was told when I got to workers' comp was, group health is not workers' comp, so you need to understand that first of all. And so I was like, okay, I got that piece. And then the other piece of that is I had to manage nurses, and I was not a clinical person, so I'm not a nurse. And so having the courage to try to learn something new, to push myself out there was really difficult, but I had a great group of people who were great supporters who really helped talk me through that process as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, I think about this really pivotal decision. I think Jessica and Dionne were talking about similar things about making this change in our career. So I'm a lawyer. I am general counsel at Paradigm, and prior to joining Paradigm, I had been at a firm. I was litigating, and it was too much for me. I was pregnant, and I decided, much to my husband's delight, that I was going to leave my job in November of 2008, a month after the market crashed and the recession. And after I had had my 5 or 6 months with my son and my toddler, I was ready to get back into work. And I went around and talked to former partners that I had worked with at other firms, and they all told me, go back to the firm I was at and get your job back. Ask for your job back. And all I could think of was how miserable it made me. And I was terrified. I think a lot of us were, with the market conditions and who's going to hire somebody who just had a baby and left her job. And I just refused to go back. And I'm so grateful, and I'm not just saying it because there's a bunch of Paradigm people here and I love working with them, but I'm so grateful that I held that space open for myself where I had no idea what was going to happen next, but I eventually landed at Paradigm and started the department, and it was just absolutely the best thing I did.
Great. Well, earlier I was talking about the dreaded stun gun. And I want you to talk about a time that you maybe experienced the stun gun. Maybe you were dealing with a difficult leader and that person, or just a difficult person in the room. How did you deal with it and overcome? So, Rashmi, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I have a lot of stories about my litigation days, the nightmare of it. I must have been a second-year attorney. I had made a mistake. I was doing insurance defense, medical malpractice in the Bay Area. And in California, there's caps on pain and suffering damages, and I'd forgotten the cap. So I'd written this, what I thought was a glorious brief to submit to court, and gave it to the partner. He came out of his office, and he was just a bully. You know, none of the associates liked to work with him, but he also had the most interesting cases, and he had a lot of work. And obviously, when you're billing by the minute, you want to align yourself with the partner that's bringing in a lot of work. And so he came out of his office, he gathered all the attorneys around and told them about how I'd made this mistake, and read from the brief and kind of mocked me. And it was so humiliating. I went back into my office, cried. None of the other attorneys, by the way, came to kind of comfort me or encourage me, and I think it's a testament to, not a testament, it's actually a critique on this culture that is prevalent in litigation, I'm sure in lots of other areas of business as well, where it's a very competitive environment. But the administrative assistants liked me, and they came in and said, go back in there and stand up for yourself. Don't let him treat you like this. And that's exactly what I did. I went in, I said sarcastically, thanks so much for pointing out my mistake to everybody. And he just kind of looked at me and said, well, you're never going to forget that cap. And I said, yeah, that's true, but I don't learn through humiliation. I learn because you are going to teach me. And if you're not going to teach me, I'm out of here. Yeah. I'm going somewhere else. And I was the only associate, me and this senior counsel, who was awful, but anyway, that he wanted to work with. And he just, to his credit, he respected people who push back on him.
Very good. Dionne.
So names shall be changed to protect the innocent. But once upon a time, I was driving from Chattanooga. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so I was driving from Chattanooga to Atlanta. I was talking to a customer, a really, really important customer to our industry. And we were making a change in who was going to service their account. And this customer was known to be somewhat of a bully. And, but I thought, this will be a good call. We're giving them someone who's great. We'll be there to back them up. And so I gave them the information. And if you're driving between Nashville and Atlanta, what you'll see is that there's these mountains you go over and you lose the signal. So I thought, when the phone hung up, I thought for sure that it was just a bad connection. And so, so I said, they're out, bad connection. So I called back immediately, and I said, oh my God, we got disconnected, and you know, I'm not sure what happened. And they said, oh no, we didn't get disconnected. I was done with the conversation. And this is a customer that I really needed to work with, but I also thought that if I didn't stand up for myself and for my organization, that, you know, we were going to have a really difficult time working with him going forward. So I said, you know, and I pulled the Southern thing, because it always works, guys. Even if you're not from the South, always use it. And I said, you know, where I'm from, people say goodbye before they hang up. And it's important that we have a really great professional relationship, but we can't have that if we can't communicate. And so it made him feel bad, I think, because of how he did it and what he said. And believe it or not, on his birthday, I always send him a happy birthday message. We're great friends, but I think we had to build just a place where we could both be respectful of each other. And if I had not have said something, it would never have happened. So I think it's really important, to your point, to stand up for yourself. And standing up for yourself doesn't mean you have to match people's energy when they're, you know, escalated. It just means that you really have to be really truthful and have a direct conversation with them.
Okay, thank you.
For me, it was facilitating a file review. Anybody who's been a workers' compensation adjuster has probably sat in the file reviews. I was facilitating a review for the 400th time. But it was a new customer to me, not to our organization, but I thought I knew exactly what I was doing. I walked in, I sat down, Everything went really well with the user buyer. We were bantering, everything was great. And then the owner walked in and the air left the room. He sat at the head of the table and he was combative and rude. He questioned everything I said, he questioned everything our claim professionals said, and I'm really there to protect them and facilitate. And so I bit my tongue. I did not fight back at the time. My instinct, and I think a lot of women have this instinct, is to apologize. I didn't. I thanked him at the end and I walked out. And when we got outside, I found the claim consultant from the broker, who was a trusted advisor, and asked her, what could I have done differently? How could I have made this work out better? And she told me, you know, you couldn't have changed anything. You did what you did, and he just is a bully, like you said. But I hadn't used my resources ahead of time. If I had reached out to her and asked her, how is this gonna go? I would have been more prepared. And so anytime I'm now going to be speaking to a new group of executives or customers, if there is somebody that I trust that has already spoken to them, I pick up the phone and just say, hey, give me a feel for the room. How is this going to work out so that I'm not caught on my heels again?
Excellent, excellent. You know, I want to say something about the difference between men and women. I mean, we have obvious differences, but when we think about the way that our brains are wired, women are designed, most women are designed to process from an emotional center in their brain first and then move to the logical part of the brain. It's just brain research. Men are, they start processing decisions and everything from a logical space, and then they start to move toward emotion. And so men have an advantage in that they can cut that off, you know, when they want to. And so that's just the way that we're wired. And I love the fact that we have male allies here supporting this event. It's important for you to be here. And one thing that I want to point out is that we as women sometimes struggle to be authentically women and authentically feminine. So our last question has to do with competition among women. So there are lots of competitive women out there, and they believe that they have to emulate our male colleagues and be tough and aggressive, and they think that that's what they have to do in order to build, you know, credibility and career success. So what do you believe that women can do to improve or advocate for other women in a mindset of authentic executive presence? So Dionne, would you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's a difference between being an advocate for people and really putting yourself out there too, right, if you're asked. And so, you know, what's important to me personally when I think about my career, I've had women and men who've been great mentors and people who've advocated for me. But what I think was most important is that they reached out too. They saw something that maybe I didn't even see in myself. And I think what happens with women sometimes is we're waiting for someone to say, come, let me be your mentor. And I think we have to reach out more to advocate and to push people and to give them the confidence that they really need to be able to put themselves out there. So rather than wait, you know, what can we do if we're in positions of power? You know, try to find ways to be able to bring people there, help them with the things that maybe they're not even have any recognition with, and make sure that they are, you know, getting the support and not just the mentorship, but also the sponsorship, which I think is really, really important, that when they're not in the room to protect themselves, you're there also making sure that people know all the wonderful things that they do as well.
Fantastic.
I personally haven't seen much of the competitiveness between women or the aggressiveness, and I think it's thanks to things like this. We've got events like this. We have women that we can rely on. Many of our organizations, mine included, has a Women Impacting Leadership networking group. And so I and my colleagues are not going to a male mentor for advice, and we're not getting all of our information from them and therefore becoming more masculine. We are reaching out to our female mentors, and we're getting a lot of information from them on how to be authentic female leaders. I was just on a call this morning, and one of the women that I respect most in my company had a call, and she had to deliver some tough news. And she is tough, and she is strong,
and she was authentically herself in that she let her emotions come out. And so she didn't fall, but she got a little teary, and she didn't try to hide it. She was authentically who she was, and when we're able to see that, I think it helps everybody. So, you know, the more that you can look up and ask female mentors, and along with your male counterparts as well, but the female mentors, and then becoming a mentor to females that are rising in the industry, I think is imperative.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about authenticity, and I don't mean, just here, but it is definitely something that we read about, hear about, especially with respect to leadership. And I think one of the really important realizations for me with respect to authenticity is that to be authentic, you do have to know yourself. You do have to take that time to really get to know yourself. And I know, for example, I think everybody around me knows that I don't have much of a filter. In fact, when I told my 2 teenage sons that I was coming to be on this panel today, they were like, "Mom, just try your best, get your filter out." And you know when teenage boys are telling you to kind of watch what you say, you've got an issue. But I think that has really helped me, because the question always is, well, what is authentic to me? And it can be very easy to be influenced by people you see, as a woman, yes, working with men, and you see, the way they progress in their careers. So then I've spent a lot of time wondering, do I need to do those same things? And as I've gotten to know who I am, what makes me comfortable, what makes me happy, there are certain things that I just won't do. I think it explains why I got out of litigation. I'm just not built that way.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love everything that you ladies are saying. You are wise women. And if I were to sum up a message that just takes everything that you said, it's really simple. It's simple, but it's really hard at the same time. It's about coming back to who you truly are as a human being, and being in relationship with others and being vulnerable, but not being afraid to try new things, to advocate for others. It's really about those things. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. Let's give these ladies a hand as Jessica comes up. Thank you, ladies. All right.